Welcome to the PTS podcast where the Poulters talk sports. This is episode 7 of our ongoing series. On today's docket, we are talking about mostly Bay Area sports. We are getting caught up after a little time away. We're going to start off in the National Football League, where your San Francisco 49ers are 4-4. They're coming off their bye week. What do you think about the season so far, and where do you think we're headed?
My biggest takeaway from this group is Super Bowl hangovers are real, which is not a surprise. What is worrying is their lack of ability to put away games or hold off teams. So, like, even in the Cowboys win, they had to hold on the last second. And the Seahawks won. They had to hold on to the last minute. And then they kicked away the Cardinals and Rams games. So, and is that just we don't have CMC? Or is that just teams are finally starting to figure out schemes for this team? But,
Yeah, so as a reminder with the Niners, CMC has yet to play a game this year. Brandon
he'll be playing
Ayuk,
this week.
yeah, so he's expected
He'll
to
be
play
playing
this
this way.
week. Brandon Ayuk out for the year. And then
Gonzo.
they've had some banged up players in terms of their backup running back Jordan Mason got hurt at one point. Deebo Samuel was so sick he ended up in the hospital at one point. So they've been dealing with a lot of injuries this year for sure.
Yeah, which everyone kind of does, but the biggest thing is that the next there arguably there's not an easy game left. Like,
Yeah.
yes, you could be like maybe Miami if Miami is given up by that point.
There's still
Sure.
3 weeks left. I doubt it. The AFC's open enough.
Or like the Seattle game, but that's a Seattle game
That's always close.
that's always close. Plus then you're looking into the Green Bay, Buffalo. It's an absolute cluster. it's it's absolutely just straight up not having a good time.
And you would think maybe Arizona at the end might be easy. But, one, Arizona's currently in first place in the division.
Arizona's in first, and also if you look at Arizona's schedule, it is pitiful.
And not only that, every team that plays the Lions the week before stinks the next week because they're so
True.
physically beat up. I believe at one point teams were 8-0, or teams were 0-8 rather, following playing the Lions this year.
All right.
It is
so remaining schedule here. I want you to play a little game. We could go back
Arizona.
to our things. Arizona.
Okay.
This week, Jets.
I mean, they should win, but the Jets are better.
The home game.
Again, they should win, but the Jets are better, and Jets are coming off 10 days rest.
Yeah. Bye week into Seattle.
I mean, you would think off a bye, feeling good.
At Minnesota. That one is tough.
Tough.
Host Seattle.
Again, they should at least split with Seattle.
Host the Patriots.
Win.
Host the Carolina Panthers.
Win.
Or not host, but they play the Panthers, then they play the Rams, and then they play the Niners. Like, they have one hard game.
Yeah, I mean, I think they're gonna have something to play for.
Call of Duty Black Ops 6 did just get released, so
True. Gotta be careful.
Murray's in trouble. Sell, trade your stocks.
Yeah. So I mean, so
back to the 49ers.
Keep in mind the Niners play a 10 a.m. game on the East Coast, so it's 7 a.m. for them. So that's an early game against a Tampa team that, yes, is missing their top 2 wide receivers now, but has been dangerous all year. Deebo hopefully back. Christian McCaffrey hopefully back. So we're getting some of the Avengers back. This year has been very strange for the Niners. They started off with the Ricky Pearsall getting shot in San Francisco during an attempted robbery. They followed that up with the Brandon Ayuk contract negotiations that eventually got figured out. Then Ayuk gets hurt. Um, it's been a really rocky season, but the Niners are the type of team that nobody wants to see when playoffs
Yeah,
come around.
the Niners, I don't have the official stat, but it's something like 17-2 or like 18-3 in the last 2 years after their bye, counting playoffs. So like they do really well, but that's usually also when they like get healthy and things. So like
It makes sense.
the my main thing with this team is like I'm still holding them to the standard of they should be a top two team in the NFC when they may just not be good. Like their defense is Swiss cheese right now. Yes, that's because their linebackers outside of a Hall of Famer named Fred Warner is garbage heap dot JPEG. And then a whole bunch of people keep being like, "Oh, Greenlaw's gonna come back and he'll be perfectly fine." I know ACL surgeries have come a long way.
Yeah, but
No,
linebacker especially trying to go side to
especially twitchy
side.
linebacker.
It's trying to go
He's
side
not
to
going to be
side with
normal
your
until next year
ACL.
if he's normal. And people are just like, he'll slot back in. I'm like, that's the one guarantee where I'm like, no.
The
He's
one good
time
thing,
out,
the one good thing the
time
Niners
out.
do have going on defense is that they have yet to give up 30 points this year, which is good. They gave up they gave up 28 to Kansas City. They've given up 27 to the Rams, 28 to the Cowboys, and then a couple 24s. But so realistically, how often can the Niners offense score 30? With Christian McCaffrey, probably more often. But
Hopefully, but you also don't know how much. Like it doesn't matter. Like it doesn't matter if he plays 5 straight games. You're still in the sixth one. Like, is he gonna hurt it?
yeah,
Like it like that's gonna be around for like unless he actually does get hurt, then you're like, oh shit. But
something to keep in mind as well for a team that is so reliant on times with the play action and things that are based off of the run game. At Green Bay, Thanksgiving week.
yeah,
So it's going to be
at Green
cold
Bay and at Buffalo, both
at the start of
blow
December. It's going to be cold
just
and
blow butt
wet.
chunks. And
So
like I'd still say that the thing is that like the Niners are good enough to win, like split that 1-1, but it definitely has that feel of like
well, Jordan Love's apparently going to throw a pick six every week now. So
probably, but it's like if they can go like what is it, 9 games left? What's it, one, two, three, four, five,
should be right
six,
because they have
yeah.
yeah.
Like if they can go 6-3 and like just lose to Detroit, Buffalo, and Green Bay, that still probably wins you the division. But then you're the 4 seed
I
probably,
mean
which
that
is
Rams game's going to be hard. I mean they typically do
what's
well against the Rams, but
yeah. It
it's
also
also
depends if the Rams are still trying or not.
that's also a Thursday game.
Oh,
So
always fun.
which means you can watch it on Prime Video.
Oh my God, Jeff Bezos! I love
I
him.
I honestly don't
Buy
think
me a
there's
chair,
much.
Jeff Bezos.
Yeah, I
I
don't
need
think
a chair.
there's much to add to the Niners at this point. They're in a we get healthy, wait and see mode. It is really interesting that the entire division is within a game of each other this far in.
I think for me the biggest thing with the Niners is what is an acceptable season result? Because like before the season, it was like
Super Bowl or bust before the season.
Super Bowl or bust, and then we've rapidly gotten to the point of just like what what are you?
I feel like
What are you trying to do
I
here,
feel like most
buddy?
people still expect the Niners to be at minimum NFC Championship game. Minimum.
Yeah, because like this is the last year they don't have Purdy
Already
Camp
on a rookie contract,
and
yeah.
Demo. Like they're already probably just getting rid of Ward. Ward is probably just gone so Bedanzo. Uh,
I mean, they signed Ayuk, which is crazy because I just don't know where the money's going to go.
well,
But
they can still trade him technically. Well, not with an injury, but
yeah, I mean,
we'll find
I
out.
think the Niners, as of right now, the expectation should be they should beat anybody not named Detroit come playoff time.
That's fair.
They should beat if the Commanders are the number one seed out of the East. They should beat the Commanders. They should beat the Eagles.
Though I will say, the middle of the Niners' offensive or defensive line with Saquon Barkley,
Turns out,
I like those odds.
turns out, good football player.
I say it every single week, like under like just myself. I'm just like, thank you, New York Giants,
I mean,
for
to be fair, they brutally tampered and didn't get any consequence. Just brutally tampered.
sometimes you
Oh,
gotta
I know.
hand them a Philly cheesesteak with an extra 100 grand in it. You know, you just give them the baba gaboosh,
So
hit 'em
let's
with a little ganache.
let's transition to basketball. The Golden State Warriors are now sitting at, I believe, 8-1. Is that
Seven
right?
and one,
Seven and
baby.
one. Okay, so they are coming off just defeating the
Get
reigning defending champion Boston Celtics as of this recording. Um, they were victorious 118-112. Buddy Hield a game high plus 20. What do you think about the Warriors so far, and what do you think are realistic expectations for this team?
so we're currently in the mirage phase of this year's Warriors team, where um, Boston, this is their first home loss. Boston, listening to a whole bunch of radio and Boston journalists that I know, this game, like the at least for the fans or like for the franchise, this game mattered a lot just because of how much they got embarrassed during the 2022 finals.
Yep.
Um, and they didn't lay an egg tonight, but like the Warriors, this is not a game like in the next three games. The Warriors play Oklahoma City. I think it's
It's
the
Cleveland and
Celtics
Oklahoma
and
City.
Cleveland.
Yeah.
Which I was like, if you can win one of those three,
You're not, that's not bad if you win one.
you do good.
Yep.
You win two of those three.
You're feeling
Now, now you have expectations. Because if you look at their original schedule and like beating the Portland Trailblazers and the Utah Jazz
Yeah.
and the Houston Rockets, who are better but still young and squirrely, and then you beat the New Orleans Pelicans twice.
A Houston team, by
And
the
then
way, they blew like a 20 something point lead to and had
it
to win
was
it
a
overtime.
31 point lead.
Yeah, it was
It
not good.
was not. But the thing is, though, last year's team gives up when they blow that lead and they lose.
Sure do.
This team may not be. I think. Well, it's probably more talented, but like it's not like, oh, they got a superstar, mate. They're so good. It's kind of just they like threw a bunch of knives into like a crab trap, and they're just like survive, and then the crabs are like, yeah, we got this shit. And I'm like, okay, look at them go. Um, but so like all the wins until Boston, because like beating the Wizards, I don't care that you beat the Wizards. I don't care that you beat Portland.
Jordan
Like
Poole revenge
the
game.
these are like very important games where good teams have to beat bad teams when they're supposed to. And last year's team, and the team before that for the Warriors, did not.
They struggled every bad team. It just was a struggle.
Especially on the road
Oh yeah.
versus bad. They played to the level of competition. And so far, putting this in large air quotes, the the dumpster dive picks, or you could be like the stealthy good picks of Buddy Hield, who the 76ers said we would rather starve on a desert island than bring you back,
Yep.
or Lindy Waters being the 14th man on Oklahoma City, but you're like, oh, that's probably a good player.
That's
It's
probably
the
a good player
14th
because
man
it's
on
Oklahoma.
Oklahoma City, and you're like, oh, okay.
So
No fun facts. He played in the adult midnight league in Enid, Oklahoma. That's gonna make no sense to anyone. But Enid, Oklahoma. You know you know about Enid, Oklahoma, Paul.
I do. So what's interesting is, so a couple bits of some perspective. They the Boston Celtics were without Jaylen Brown tonight, which is
This
obviously
is true.
someone to a huge loss. Now, to be fair, on the Warriors side, no Brandon Pajemski, still dealing with an illness that he got in the middle of Monday's game, so I hope he's all right. D'Anthony Melton still out. Um, the lone loss for the Warriors so far this year was a 112-104 loss to the LA Clippers.
Which they probably could have won if the second that Steph got hurt, they all kind of just went, I'm fine losing this one.
Yeah.
And like especially Draymond just went, it's 160, like 162, or like it's
Yeah.
not 60, but like
82.
80 games. Um, like
Now,
it's just one, it doesn't matter. But like they probably could, like this team is built to be like this is how I imagine this team. This team is going to have a great, if people stay healthy, a really good regular season. They're going to win games that they don't deserve to win. They're going to not lose the games they're not supposed to lose. They're going to be feisty. They're going to be annoying. They're going to be like like just a pain in the ass. And that's probably good enough to get you a first round loss or a potential second round good time. Like, I don't have any high expectations where I'm like, oh, they could win a title, but it's also one of those things where it's like, hey, if you put them against non Oklahoma City in the West, like Minnesota or something. Oh, I have lost you. Oop.
sorry, I had a phone call from a package company.
Oh, big packagers.
Yeah.
It's my favorite kind of company. Um,
So,
um,
um,
but
I,
I
I
the
I agree with your point as
uh,
it relates to the regular season, where they're more of like a we have depth that's generally better in the regular season because when you get to the playoffs, you just want to be able to play just your best eight guys.
yeah.
Um,
Right
now,
now
what's
they're on an
interesting,
11-man rotation with two
not
people hurt.
that's what I was gonna say is so no Pazemski, no Melton, who are players in the rotation, and they played
Oh,
11 players today, and the lowest amount of minutes was Waters, Lindy Waters. Uh, to put this in
oh,
perspective,
Mr. Hall pass.
yeah, I know. The starting five: Draymond, Trace Jackson Davis, Wiggins, Curry, Moody. And then off the
Uh-huh.
bench, Kuminga, Looney, Waters, Slow-Mo, Buddy Hield, and GP2. That team is really good. Now, the one thing that has been much
It's
better for the
good. It's
Warriors,
not great. It's good though.
right? But what the one thing though the Warriors do have going for them this year that they've been missing the last couple of years is they're back to being a top 10 defensive team. They brought
Yes.
in Jerry Stackhouse
Stackhouse has been
as
big.
defensive minded coach. What they're doing is they're trying to double team star players and doing help defense like that, and that's done wonders so far. And again, they've got Draymond, Wiggins, Kuminga, and GP2, who are all plus defenders. Obviously, with players like that, you're going to need some shooting around them, which is where Buddy Hield has come in and have been a revelation. As you've mentioned before we started, this is kind of the Buddy Hield experience so far in his
Right.
career, where
They
he's got
literally have like
there are memes of the
the
cycle
literal
of Buddy
memes
Hield.
of like, oh, he does well. Why would they do this? Oh, I'm not like, how could you have? He's the greatest of all time. Oh, he just lost us 4 games in a row. Oh, I get it. I don't want him.
Yeah,
So we're
what's
we're
what's
we're stage
interesting
two.
is
We're at stage two.
it's interesting because specifically in the Warriors system,
Yeah, I do think he'll
slotting
be better
into
than he is at most stops, but like there will be
slotting
games he
into
will
the
just
Clay
lose.
role. Now,
Yeah,
obviously,
speaking of
Buddy
Clay,
Buddy Hield is not as good of a player as Clay Thompson has been, in particular on the defensive end. But following Clay's injuries, he was kind of an okay defender the last couple of years,
yeah, when
and they
Clay
get to
was
play.
like
They get to play
like
Clay Thompson next Tuesday in his Oracle
yeah,
return. So that's going
that's
to be
gonna be
interesting.
weird.
That's going to
That's
be.
gonna be weird.
What's funny is
Not
if
gonna be
I looked
okay.
at so if you look at ticket prices,
Oh, it
if you
probably
want to
spiked.
if you want to see Memphis, if you want to watch them play Memphis, cheapest
Oh,
ticket $90. You want to see them play Atlanta, $60. You want to see them play Dallas, $150. If you want to watch them in Oklahoma City, $23.
Ooh, but that's also just called Oklahoma City pricing for Oklahoma City life.
So let's
Um,
let's try and be realistic here. So the Warriors are off to a great start, obviously. Going in 7-1 against professional players in any format is a good start. What is their ceiling with the team currently constructed?
um, their ceiling is uh a similar run to 2022 where if Wiggins absolutely just clocks in and then one of Kaminga, Buddy Heald, or um Pajemski like turns
Takes a step.
into an actual start like actual kind of starter or like six man, then like Western Conference Finals, NBA Finals. But that's the problem is this team. I don't think it's still not beating Oklahoma City. Like even with
That's what I
like
was going to bring
it's
up.
like
So
it's
I don't
like
think
you need
either of us
someone else to knock off Oklahoma City that you can then beat.
like so
Which I
neither
don't
of
know if
us
there
would
is.
take them in a so let's go 7 game series, okay? I don't think either of us are taking them against Oklahoma City, okay? Are either of
No.
us taking them against Memphis?
Um. Yes, I'd say yes.
I would say yes too, although it's
It wouldn't be like 100% of the time, but I'd say
because what you have to remember is the worst matchup for the Warriors always is quality big men. They are so bad at defending really high quality large players. Okay, could they beat Dallas?
yes.
I think so too. Although, again, I
That
think
one
they're a
that
decent matchup into
a
Dallas.
lot of these ones just come down to like massive shooting.
Sure, but I think they match up okay because you can put Kaminga. You can try and defend Luca with Wiggins. Kyrie or PJ Washington can be defended by Kaminga. I think you've got some interesting stuff. Minnesota.
I still think Minnesota's just a mistake right now. So
Minnesota's weird. So obviously, I'm sure people know, but they traded Carl Anthony Towns for Dante DiVincenzo and Julius Randle, which obviously changed up some things. Um,
all the West, like I'm now looking at the West, and like it's very weird because you're like, oh, the West is super good, and then I'm looking at the West, and I'm like, the West is fugly. The
yeah,
West is
because
outside of Oklahoma City. The rest of the West is so fugly.
like Denver
So,
has Jokic, but otherwise feels
but from
flawed.
what I've been seeing on Twitter, like
Denver's having
Denver's a
problems. Yeah,
Denver's having a shit show right
Phoenix ever
now.
since the Durant trade's been a mess. Like
They are 6-1 right now, but um,
sure, but I don't know if I ever like Yusuf Nurkic is just not good enough to be a starting center in a playoff series. He's just not.
I
So
agree, but I think it all depends on who avoids the 4-5,
yeah,
um, which is already wild. It's only been 8 games, and we're already like, you know what? I think the Warriors need to make sure they get the number 2 seed instead of the 4 seed.
you know what
it's like
team is
let's get to the playoffs
you know what
first.
Western Conference team is pretty good this year and is the worst matchup possible for the Warriors?
Which one?
The Lakers. Trying to defend Anthony Davis and LeBron is like the worst thing for this team.
Yeah, but
Like you
Steve
could take
Kerr
advantage.
mid series adjustments versus JJ Redick.
JJ's looked
Uh,
good so far. To be fair, he's looked good so far. He's
no,
look.
thank you.
He is a sizable upgrade from Darvin Ham. Now that's the bar was on the floor, but
Yeah, you picked up a 5 pound dumbbell.
let's again. I think we both have high hopes for the
It's
Warriors.
from Pop Myers.
Oh no,
He's joking on TV about the
fucking
Warriors
Spack.
are 7-1 after they got rid of their GM.
Yeah, makes sense. Um,
Mimes. The thing with
wait,
the
they're not
Warriors, I
though. They
want.
didn't get rid of their GM. What?
Mhm.
What do you mean?
He's talking about himself.
That
From
was a year and a half ago, though.
I know, but
Oh, okay.
he's saying, look at them, how much they've improved. All
Oh,
right,
okay.
um, it's tongue in cheek. The thing
So
with the Warriors, the question is have they put themselves in the scenario where um they're too good to break up the chemistry because this team has good vibes to get a better piece,
yeah.
or do you go, hey, we're gonna lose Kaminga probably at the off season? Do you just
So
yeah yeet?
I mean I like Kaminga. I don't like I don't love the fit of Kaminga on this team, which
The
is
problem is
weird
Kaminga in a
because
team that fits him
he's
is
so good.
probably really really good. It's really really unique. So that's the problem is like, do you let him go somewhere else and then become a superstar, or do you just kind of bite the bullet and go, we'll pay you a bunch of money just so you don't become a
I
superstar?
still think if they're going to trade him, the trade is a 1-for-1 swap for Jared Allen. That
No,
has
no,
always been the trade that
no,
makes
no,
sense.
no,
Yeah.
no,
Yeah.
no, no.
Jared Allen is an all-star caliber center. They need the ability to play a bigger lineup that doesn't involve having TJD and Draymond Green on the floor because that's just not tenable.
Yes, but I don't think Jared Allen's that player
I
anymore.
I mean, who are you going to get that's going to make sense? I mean,
Jimmy Butler.
please don't. No,
Jimmy Butler.
would be
Let
so
me
bad
tell
for
you,
this team.
they're already tanking.
Please
They
stop.
love young athletic talent. It's in the Eastern Conference. Jimmy Butler.
I mean, if you could get Bam out of bio,
No, no, you cannot get that.
yeah,
But you can get Jimmy Butler.
I don't want Jimmy Butler.
One Jimmer.
I'm fine with.
One Jimmy J.
The problem is like, what are the two things the Warriors need the most? They need realistically a three
Uh
and D upgrade at the wing,
they
and they
they
need a
just need a number
they
two
need
scorer.
and they need someone who's tall.
I don't
Those are
know
the
if
two
you need
things they
someone
need.
tall.
They need someone tall. Daniel, can
They
you
got
name me the tallest player on the Warriors
Quentin Post. He's a 7 foot rookie.
who's actually in the rotation? It is Kyle Anderson, Daniel. It is Kyle Anderson.
That's a modern day center. I don't know what to tell you.
Is there? The
You
answer is they need
see,
Laurie Markkinen, but
they're not getting Laurie Markkinen.
they
He
also need
is
Chet Holmgren. That's who they need.
well, he's not leaving Oklahoma City by choice.
Yeah,
Well, that's not how
well,
that works, but you get what I mean.
you know who
They're
they
gonna
need.
pay them.
Okay,
They're gonna pay the man. It's
all right. I figured it out. I'm a genius.
all right.
Give me
Giannis.
Sengun.
Giannis.
Give me Sengun.
The
Just
problem is the problem with Sengun is that he just got his contract extension, so his contract is a disaster.
so if you send them. So who's starting at the three or four for the Rockets?
Jabari
Jabari,
Smith,
right? It's Jabari and
probably. Yeah,
Dylan Brooks, right? That's like
yeah. They're all threes. Their entire lineup
right
is
because
just threes.
they play Fred Van Vliet, uh, Jalen Green, Dylan Brooks, Jabari, and Sengun, right?
Somewhat. They've been not playing Sengun much.
And then they have Reed Shepard,
Thompson.
right? And Amen
Yeah.
Thompson. Yeah. Or do they have Asar Thompson or Amen?
I'm
They
not
have Amen.
sure. Whoop.
They have,
Is the sound of the wheel?
so I mean, Sengun played 24 minutes, second most on the team, third most on the fourth most on the team.
It was more also against the Warriors game where like they ran him off the court, so they just couldn't play him. And it's just like,
They also have Tari Eason, who I forgot about.
yeah, he's good.
Yeah, I don't know. The Warriors are weird. I think they need to make if they want to capitalize on Steph, they need to make him. You know what? Here we go. Here's another one.
Oh no.
Miles Turner. No, because the Pacers could use a young athletic player, in particular on the wing.
But I also like Miles Turner is the universal like protein shake where you don't know how long it's been in the fridge at the gym and you're like he could be good or he could be completely useless and
Look
cost
at the
you
Charlotte Hornets getting
the
a
Hornets.
win
Hornets.
against the Detroit Pistons. Anyway,
Woo! Love to see
anyway,
it. They're
let's
3-5.
let's talk baseball.
Whoa.
Uh, while we were gone, the Demons in the South won the World Series by paying all
It's
their
true.
players an absorbent amount of money against
What,
the
you
other
don't like
team that
spending
faced.
$1 billion for
Wow,
two
the two teams
Japanese-based pitchers?
the two teams with the highest payroll got into the World Series. Who would have ever thought that that would be how that works? And then very weird Garrett Cole situation, but we'll talk about that later.
Oh
Probably on
yeah,
another episode. Um,
yeah.
let's so Dodgers win the World Series. While we were gone, the Giants named Buster Posey the president of baseball operations. So essentially, he's above the GM, but he makes a lot of the decisions for the team. Where do you think this places them, and what is their prospective look going into next year?
So the Giants are really weird. And I mainly say that from the standpoint of their fan base. Because like the fan base has always been known to be like the Giants fans know ball.
Yeah,
They're baseball fans.
Giants
They're
baseball torture.
they're smart. They can tell that this player is good.
Yep.
Baseball. Um, but over the last like 2 years, I think they've just all gone dumb. Like I'm like, was it time for a change? Sure,
Yep.
yes, but like they like pine for like you listen to Giants fans and they're like, I just want a guy who can make a bunt so bad. I love bunts. Have you ever heard of hit and run? And I'm like, yeah, those are archaic things that got are out of baseball now. I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah.
Your game that you love is dead. Get over it. Like
Yeah, I mean, the big thing is obviously the Giants won 3 World Series doing the little things. They were basically a pitching and a timely hitting team with quality play and defense. That's just not
and
how the league
it's
is played anymore.
and it's just like they're just like I don't want like they like the amount of vitriol from on Twitter. Like, yes, Twitter is a place for, but like just like your local radio shows or things, the amount of hate, and I mean despicable level hate for Farhan Zaidi,
No, they
their
hate him.
former baseball president of baseball operations, and they're just like he made one move and then like he would send him down 2 days later, and that pisses me off. I like when my players struggle.
Yeah,
And I'm just like, I don't get you. Like they just like they're like, I want a pitcher who pitches 8 innings. And I'm like, it doesn't
that
exist.
doesn't happen anymore.
It's gone.
Which is funny because
Yes.
Logan Webb had like the second most innings in like all of
And
baseball.
it's like, yeah, and it's like they're like, we hate openers. And I'm like, sure, that's fine, but
So,
I don't know what to tell you. Like, and it's
so to put
like
their team in
that like
perspective,
they had a whole bunch of people like former players like Will Clark, a whole bunch of things just be like these Poindexters, and I can't wait for them to start using their gut and their balls. And I'm like, what? They just
not how it
hired a
works.
GM with that was here before. Like things aren't changing.
Yeah.
I do think Buster is because like he did some quotes. There's a I believe it's the GM meetings down in
The
San
winter
Antonio right
meetings.
now.
Yeah.
It's not the winter meetings, but it's the GM meetings.
Before the winter meetings.
And he had basically a lot of words that basically said, "Hey, I know that like analytics says RBIs are useless or you can't trust RBIs," but he's like, "I kind of want people who hit RBIs. Like, that'd be cool." And he's like, "Hey, I know what wins in this ballpark and this team, and it's good pitching and defense,
Sure
and
is.
that's it." and he was just very blunt, like very forward, like. And they also said we need a shortstop. Um, so
Experimented with Marco Luciano last year there. They've
he also said that Luciano is moving to the outfield.
outfield. Yeah,
Yeah,
makes sense.
but probably he'll start the year probably in the minors to just learn how to do that.
Yeah.
And like I am optimistic. I don't think they'll resign Snell. I have a sneaky suspicion he's gone. I think Snell would want to resign, but I
Yeah.
don't think the Giants are at a position money wise where they can be like,
So after
because they went over the luxury last year. So if they stay over the luxury, then they get double taxed. So I have to
so
think they can spend something like 69 million or something this offseason.
I spend it all on Juan Soto. So
I don't think they're going to get Juan Soto. I
yeah, of
think
course not.
Juan Soto is going to go to the Yankees, the Mets, or if the Dodgers feel like being like truly evil. Because I'm prepared
So
for that already.
So the two
But
big
I think
things for the Giants in this offseason are Blake Snell, obviously coming off a nice year. He had a no-hitter at one point. Took him a while to get acclimated back, but he looked good. Um, and recently, as of I believe yesterday or the day before, rumors about Camilo Doval. So he lost his starting closer spot um, partway
yes,
through the year, I believe, to Walker. Um,
yes,
and they have now had some teams reach out about him. Um, I mean, he's obviously very talented. He was at one point the All Star Game pitcher, so he's a good player,
he
but he did struggle last year.
he struggled last year. But a lot of it was just kind of like a little prima donna closery stuff. Like
Shocker.
it'd be like, oh, I don't like when I'm not close, like coming into close, like just like,
Yeah,
oh, we're up by 5.
yeah,
He struggled a lot because he just like didn't have the juice, and
yeah.
like sure, but like the I could see them maybe trading him, but like closer, like anyone who like quality controlled bullpen guys, like it's hard to just be
Trade
like
him for Francisco Lindor.
but I think this is one of those low hanging fruits, but it's not um like a it has some asterisks to it, but I think they will eventually end up with Ha-Sung Kim,
Yeah,
shortstop formerly of the Padres,
yeah.
who conveniently who Jung Hoo Lee, their outfielder who will be back
He'll be
next
back
year,
next year. Yep.
best friend on the team in the Korean League was him. He was like in his wedding, he was like his best man. So like and he really liked playing for Melvin. Melvin really liked him.
Does he
It
play
makes
defense?
he does at a high
Sign him
level.
up. Sign him up. Get him on the squad.
The problem with him is he injured his shoulder at the end of last year, and he won't start the year
God
healthy.
damn it! I'm sick of these
So,
injured players. Can we
but
just go
it
back and
means
sign Carlos Correa like we were
that
supposed to?
means you could also get a nice deal
That's true.
potentially. But it's still gonna be expensive. There's Adonis out in the Brewers, but you'll have to give up a draft pick. He's like
You
the
talking
two
about
school of
Adolis Garcia?
no, the Brewers shortstop.
Willie Adames.
There it is.
Yeah.
Where he's like a 30 home run, 25 steal guy, like power bat, but he's going to cost you a bunch of money and a second, third, fifth, and sixth draft pick
No,
plus
thank you.
$1 million in your pool, your
No, thank you.
international money pool.
No, thank you.
So if you don't give two blanks about a draft class, you can go get him and you have your
I
shortstop
mean,
for the future.
so who's supposed to be on this team moving forward? So they've got the Gold Glove catcher
Yeah, Patrick Bailey. They just signed Chapman.
Chapman, who plays
Um,
third.
Chapman's third. Jung Hoo Lee in center. There's Ramos in left field.
Elliot Ramos, who had a end of the year.
Meh, end of the year, but it's still strong enough beginning of the year where you
Sure.
go, we'll live with that.
Yeah.
And then you've got Fitzgerald, who probably scoots over to second, but can play outfield.
It's Tyler Fitzgerald, right? The guy that was going
Correct.
nuts. Yeah.
Yes. Ooh, got a stretchy. Woo!
Let's see. Who else do we even have? I mean, our pitching's still stacked.
Pitching is still very good. You could trade also some young pitching that's not in the current starting rotation for,
Yeah.
but like with the Giants right now, it's a lot of do they go try to get a Max Fried? Like
Oh, we had late night Lamont Wade. Forgot
and
about
then they have
him.
Eldritch in the
Oh, Mike
farm system.
Yastrzemski, who just somehow plays every position ever,
It's true.
but mostly plays third. So I think the Giants are in an interesting spot. Obviously, it's going to be a tough division again. When you have the reigning World Series champ, you've got the San Diego Padres, who are always dangerous with Fernando Tatis Jr. and Manny Machado. Um, let's take approximately 15 seconds because that's all they deserve on
Whoa.
the San Jose Sharks. Um,
Oh,
they went from what they were like 1-8, and then they won like 3 games in a row or something.
they're like
They were over.
0-8. Yeah,
Oh well,
they were doing the stink train.
didn't the number one pick get hurt?
He did.
Is he back yet?
He got hurt to start the season. He just came back. Um, They beat the Blue Jackets last night in overtime
Okay,
because
so they started off by beating the Utah. Do they have an official name?
the Utah Hockey
Hockey
Club,
Club. Okay,
which I think it's gonna be one of those they're testing it out for a year and then it may turn
dude,
into something.
please, Utah and the Commanders, please change your name. They're so bad. Both those names are terrible. Guardians is fine. Like Guardians is okay. The other two, we got to do something because that's awful. So they beat Utah, they beat LA, fuck LA, and they beat the Blackhawks on Halloween. They lost to the Canucks, and they've now beaten the Blue Jackets as of yesterday. Honestly, not a ton of expectations for the Sharks this year. Just want to make sure that their number one pick stays healthy and looks good. He looks good. So
This whole season is get the num they're guaranteed if they get last place a top 3 draft pick because you're not guaranteed to get the
sure,
because how the draft lottery works in NHL is if you can't win the number 1 pick multiple years in a row unless you finished actually last. Like
that's a good
if you
system.
jump up, you can't do it again.
Good.
Um, but I like this team is doing a lot of smart moves. They continuously seem to be doing in the right direction. And then that 3 game winning streak, like they looked like an actual team. And that's a low floor I get, but it's like we'll take that. In a year that you're not expecting them to make the playoffs, you're expecting them to finish last or near last. Um, if they can get there's not like a true another superstar like a Celebrini in this draft, but it's still like starters will be
Sure.
like you're gonna get a starter if you finish last,
Good.
and
That's what we need.
that's all they need right now. So I'm here for it. And that Celebrini's back, and same with like Will Smith is also incredibly promising. So like if they both stay healthy, I'm going to be watching Sharks games. Like the goalie last night had 49 saves for the Sharks.
If
You
ever
take it.
there was a team that should be talked about even less,
Whoa.
it's the no city name Athletics,
Oh,
who are now just the Athletics. They don't have the Oakland moniker anymore.
are you
Uh,
excited for 114-degree weather in Sacramento on July 3rd? Artificial turf in that outfield, baby. I
yeah,
love to
somebody's
see
gonna
it.
die on the field. Okay, well,
It's
thank you guys for joining us this week.
it's so
Uh,
bad.
Next, our next show, depending on if it's this coming weekend or next week, will either be a preview or review of Week 10 in the NFL, talking about how the Warriors did on their in totality on their 3 game road trip, and maybe some updates on some of our other favorite teams. Thank you guys for joining us as always, and we will see you guys next time. Thank you very much.
See ya.